Hi guys, welcome back to season two. Or welcome to season two. We had a little break last week. I wasn't very well. I was bedridden for a few days. So, welcome to the new kind of format where we're not going to talk too much about the news. We're just going to talk about stuff that, kind of relevant to us, things we want to talk about. And, try and sell ourselves to you guys a bit more, and hopefully you'll come watch a few more of our streams and watch a few more of our videos, stuff like that. So, straight off the bat, I'm going to start every week now with the joke of the week.
Right.
So, if you're under the age of 16, turn away now. How do you confuse a casual masturbator?
Go on.
42. You get it?
I don't get it.
There you go. Confused you.
That's rubbish.
Oh, hang on.
I mean,
Hey.
as a big Douglas Adams fan, bit of a frustrating joke.
Yeah. I found that quite a good one earlier today, so I thought, yep, we'll throw that in as the joke of the week. All right.
Is it better to be? Is it better though to be a casual masturbator than a rampant masturbator? Probably is.
Probably, yeah. Probably. Well.
Anyway, onto gaming topics.
Yeah. So let's jump straight into our bracket and get 2008 out of the way. We had some very. I was actually struggling a little bit for 2008 until I saw the back end of the year. Some good games came out earlier in the year, things like Dead Space, Battlefield Bad Company, SOCOM Confrontation, which was the first one to come with the Bluetooth headset for the PS3, which I think was one of the. It was definitely. I definitely got it. Being unreal, being able to control the rest of your team through speech rather than having to do it with the controller. So that was great. We also had things like Saints Row 3, which changed that series into an iconic GTA-like style game. Then later on in the year, we had things like Fable 2, Bioshock, Resistance 2, Little Big Planet. GTA 4 was first half of the year and back half of the year because of the different release windows.
Yeah.
Your pick was an early release. If you want to talk about that,
You should also mention 2 Need for Speed games that year.
was there two?
Yeah, both Undercover and Pro Street came out in 2008, and
Street.
we played both of them back in the day.
Jeez, I remember picking one of them up on release day.
I think that was Undercover. We played a lot of that game together. I think
now-
that was the first video game that had the Bugatti Veyron in it, and that was a big thing at the time. My pick is one of, if not my favorite personal Star Wars game, and that is The Force Unleashed.
Yeah, I love this game. Absolutely love this game. I think I still have it somewhere. But yeah, like the whole storyline of being like Vader's apprentice and going down that route. Just, I don't know, there was something different about it, wasn't there?
There was, and look, I think it's aged pretty badly now. Not necessarily in terms of its graphics, but just because the Star Wars canon has gone so far away from that if you go back and play it now, it really does feel like extended universe stuff. Whereas at the time, it presumably fitted in with the canon.
Yeah.
But it's still so much fun to play, and I have so many great memories of that game. I think just the first time putting it in, starting to play it, and you're playing as Vader, just going through and slaughtering Wookiees. It was a real like surreal moment that this in a in a video game like this is new.
Yeah.
And there's so many moments like that in that game that really gripped you at the time.
That opening scene really had that kind of no Russian for Star Wars fans feel to it, didn't it?
Yeah, it certainly did. Yeah.
So yeah, great pick for 2008. My pick is Fallout 3. This game made me fall in love with this massive open world RPGs. They weren't really my style of game. I had been trying things like Oblivion and stuff like that beforehand. Couldn't really get into them. Played this, went back, loved Oblivion. Did open world RPGs are now pretty much just my thing. But yeah, so everything about this game, like I've played through it 3 or 4 times, done different stuff every time.
Yep.
All the DLC for it was great. I remember not getting the DLC through the PlayStation Network, but I actually went and rebought the game with the Game of the Year edition to get all that extra content, and was blown away by it. Absolutely blown away by some of the stuff they did in that game. I don't think there's been a Bethesda game that has hit home like Fallout 3 has since. Maybe Skyrim.
Yeah.
Skyrim probably the exception to that rule.
Yeah,
but
I think it would be between those two games for sure.
Yeah, they were the peak of Bethesda.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of Bethesda, though, we had the Video Game Awards announce their Game of the Year.
Indeed. Or the Game of the Year nominees.
Yeah, well, the Game of the Year nominees. Obviously, the awards ceremony isn't until the 8th of December. Jeff Keighley will be presenting that. So there's a couple of things I think we might see there. We'll get into that in a moment, because that's actually one thing that I forgot to put on the list that we need to talk about. But I'll get into that in a sec. So, obviously, the bigger mission, Starfield.
Well, and another one, Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy not making the cut as well, which that actually surprised me more than Starfield missing out.
Yeah, I think it did me as well. I think Starfield had a shaky launch, and Hogwarts didn't. So,
do you think that the developers for Hogwarts tried to be smart by having an early release to miss, all these bigger games coming out at the back end of the year, but then left the Switch version of the game till this time of the year in the hopes that it might refresh the memories that this great game existed and might get a nomination?
Potentially. I think in terms of sales, I'm sure it helped sales. It was kind of the game in, what was it, February that it came out?
Everyone was playing
the game to get. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was playing it. But maybe it's now, slipped to the back of people's minds. And looking at the nominees, all of them kind of. There were some of them that were in the first half of the year, but they weren't early releases. So they were all kind of April onwards, I think. So maybe that has hurt Hogwarts. So we should probably tell the listeners the nominees in case they don't know them. So they are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonder and the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom
Yes, I
is
think
the
I think the
nomination game of
earliest
the year.
the earliest release there is Resident Evil 4, which
Yeah,
was April May time.
I think that was April. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I was still in the old house and we moved in here in June, so it'd be around then. And then I think the next one on that list would have been Tears of the Kingdom, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Which I
Yeah,
think was what, August, September, August.
yeah, I think so. I actually don't. I'm not sure about the release date on Super Mario. You might know.
Super Mario Wonder only came out like 3 or 4 weeks ago,
There you go.
if that.
Yeah.
Came out. I think it came out the same time or around the same time as Alan Wake 2. I know there was a day or maybe even a week at most between those. I don't see. I see this being a two horse race
Hmm.
between Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate, and to be honest with you, I think Baldur's Gate wins it hands down.
Look,
Especially after looking at the golden joysticks.
I do agree that I think it will be between those two. I appreciate that, you would be someone who would heavily lean towards Baldur's Gate personally anyway, from a subjective point of view. I think, though, that there is a good chance that there will be a lot of voters for Tears of the Kingdom, and I can see it being quite a close race.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the only thing that holds me back from playing Zelda is the art style. I think the
Yeah.
gameplay itself is very good, but the art style just turns me off so much. And that's nothing against them. They've created a fabulous game and deserves every plaudit it gets. It really does.
And there are people who actually appreciate that
Oh
art
yeah,
style
hundred
and like
percent,
it.
100%. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate. I mean, I do. I am a D&D fan, so that does appeal to me a bit more. But I mean, I looking at the golden joysticks, it won like a record 8 of its nominations. Well, it was nominated for 8 categories and won all 8 of them, including
Yeah.
Game of the Year.
I also think Resident Evil 4 is worthy of a shout out, but I think that's because if it was, uh, if it wasn't a remake and it was just its own standalone title, if it was Resident Evil 9,
Yeah.
I think that quality of game, it would have been a real contender. But I think the fact that it's a remake maybe would lose it some votes.
I'm not too sure. Because I still think Resident Evil Village is a better Resident Evil 4 than Resident Evil 4 is. I think there's a lot of similarities between those games. And I think the story of Resident Evil Village does that kind of story that they do. Like, there's a lot of similarities between the stories. I don't want to give too much away for those that haven't played Village, because it's still a relatively new game, and obviously there's a lot of fans as well that are picking up Resident Evil 4 for the first time thanks to this remake. But and I that didn't really go too well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe other people disagree with me, and they thought that Resident Evil 4 is a stronger story and does those things well. But yeah, I think it's definitely got a case for your horror game of the year, and maybe even a bit of voice acting, in those categories. I don't think Game of the Year. It would be, might be third, might be fourth, but it'd be a long way behind the other two. A long way.
I suppose we should talk about Spider-Man 2 and why that's not in the running, in our opinion.
Yeah. Look, again, Spider-Man 2, fantastic. Loved it. Enjoyed every second of it. I did feel like it was a bit short.
Yeah.
A lot of people had that gripe. But, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a long game for it to be amazing. But you kind of want to feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah, sure.
At the same time, it didn't have the depth that Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's The customization, the individuality that you can do in those two games, the replay value of those two games is massively high. Spider-Man, I've platinumed it. Even if they come out with New Game Plus, there's not really an incentive for me to go back and do it until they release DLC.
Yeah.
So, but with Baldur's Gate, well, I could play another time on my own, different outcome. I could play with you, Blowy. Like, we could have two separate games going there, one with you and me, one with me and Blowy, and then we could be playing it with three of us, and we could all be having different stories and different outcomes in each different playthrough.
Yeah.
But then,
look, I think you're spot on that Baldur's Gate is going to have a really strong case, and it's going to have a lot of people voting for it. But also, I would love to see the numbers on this, but I'm not sure that that all of the talk around Baldur's Gate is representative of the number of people who played it compared to Tears of the Kingdom.
the thing is, you can't quite go on sales.
No, you can't go on sales. Of course not.
I think the difference being between the two of them, we knew Tears of the Kingdom was going to be the big thing that it was.
Yeah.
We knew that, you know, everyone
Pretty
was...
much every Zelda game is.
Yeah. We knew that everyone was going to go pick this game up. We knew that, you know, it was going to be a 9.5, 10 out of 10 game.
Mm-hmm.
Baldur's Gate came from nowhere and took the internet by storm.
Yeah.
Like, there was a little bit of hype around it. You know, there'd been, you know, a few reviewers and stuff saying, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on this, you know. And, you know, there was the memes like, oh, you can have sex with a bear. You know, that sort of thing. And that started piquing people's interest. And then this game dropped and it was just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody else was... It was the only thing being streamed on Twitch.
For
like a week.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you looked, you had people like Felicia Day and other celebrities getting on Twitch and streaming it and doing like full D&D nights with it. Like, it was crazy. And that sort of thing doesn't go unnoticed. Like, I think that's where we're... I think it's going to be close, but I personally believe, yeah, Baldur's Gate wins it hands down.
Do you want to pick out one other category to briefly talk about?
I haven't actually looked at the other categories, to be honest with you. Well, pull it.
Fair enough.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up now. Here we go.
There are a lot of categories this year. I'm not sure if this is this has grown, but yeah, quite a few categories in there.
did not know that they'd put all of them in. I'm going to go 1, 2. Ooh. I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick 3 categories to have a look at. So best debut indie game.
Yep.
So they've got Viewfinder, Vember, Pizza Tower, Dredge, and Cocoon. I love these categories because it really, really highlights the indie space. And there is so much you can find. So many good games you can find in there. And from what I've been hearing lately, a lot of people love Viewfinder.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to see that do well. I don't know what I've just done, but the page has disappeared on me. Oh, there we go, close. I don't know too much about the others. I do know a little bit about Pizza Tower. That also looks like it's really good. Love the animation style in that game.
Yep.
So that could be really good. Mobile Game of the Year.
Ooh.
So they've got Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. Now, I know of 4 of these 5. I've not heard of Terra Nil.
Yeah, but I haven't heard of that either.
I would imagine being the fact that the 4 games that I know of are all coming out of Japan and China.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd think, the West are probably going to go after Final Fantasy VII. That'll
you would think
be
so.
the lead.
Although Monster Hunter is fairly popular.
I just
popular series.
I just don't know. I mean, and it is Niantic as well, so maybe it's that they're saving grace after they've had to let some people go from their studio. I can see Star Rail being really close on this as well.
I think that the problem that Honkai has is that it's not quite as popular in the West as Genshin is, for whatever reason. I think among kind of hardcore Genshin players, there are a lot of them who play Honkai as well.
Yeah.
But for kind of casual Genshin players, a lot of people in the West don't also play Honkai.
Yeah. But in saying that, Genshin has grown a lot in the West over the last few years, and that may pull people into Honkai. So, I mean, I was looking at Star Rail purely for the animation style and stuff like that, but look, I think that's going to be a really, really tight
For sure
category. And then I was going to go Content Creator of the Year.
Oh, okay.
You got Iron Mouse, Spreen, Quick Kitty, Spheric, and people make games. Don't know a huge amount about a couple of these guys, but it's obviously a space that we're in.
Cypher PK, I think.
Cypher PK, yeah. But I People Make Games have done some really good stuff this year. Some really, really good stuff. So, I mean, my tip would be that. It's probably I know a little bit more about that than I do the others in this category.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think there's there's some stuff there. And anybody could take that. I mean, it comes down to a fan vote. So, a couple of these people might have massive followings that I don't know about, and may just romp it in.
I wanted to look at one category, which is best ongoing, and in this category, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. So we have Apex Legends, Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Genshin. Now, this one I can also see being really tight.
Yeah.
Now, all of these games deserve a kind of shout out in one way or another. Some of them because they have just consistently been putting out a lot of great content over years now. Yeah. Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Genshin have all done that. But also, Cyberpunk deserves a shout out because for a while it was sort of dead in the water.
Yeah.
And now through big updates, it's now a great game. So, and look, Witcher 3 had a sort of similar thing, that it had a bit of a shaky release, and then it had some big updates, and now it's an all-time classic.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a very tight category.
And can I just say one thing? Like, I know everyone's been raving that the new season of Fortnite's gone back to OG. I tried playing it this morning, and I had to stop after 3 games. Because I'm going to stuff up my win, like my record.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't get past the top 75.
Wow.
And yet I've not finished outside the top 12 ever. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Absolutely shocking. I don't know if it's the guns. I don't know if it's the lack of mats that you can get, like the shields and stuff like that, but yeah, absolutely blew me away. One more category just to look at: most anticipated.
I did look at this category just before.
You could pick any of those again.
Yeah, you could. It's a very good category. So the nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8.
Like, I to be honest, I think it'll be one of the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
The Yakuza / Like a Dragon series is just so popular.
Yeah.
Really, really popular. Inside Japan, outside of Japan. So popular. Hades 2. Hades was come out of nowhere. What, 4 years ago? 2000... Mm-hmm. Can't remember when it was. 2018 it might have been. It came out on the Switch. With its roguelike game. Come out of nowhere to be nominated for Game of the Year, and did it win it? I know it won some, but I can't remember if it won Game of the Year or not at the Video Game Awards. But the fact that it was nominated made me go, ooh. As soon as it came out on PlayStation, went and bought it. Fell in love with it. Platinum that game. Fantastic. I am super excited for the second one. Super excited. Everyone knows it. Everyone's clinging and hanging out for Rebirth. You and me included.
It looks absolutely fantastic. I've mentioned this before, though, on the podcast, that I think potentially they are going a little bit overboard with how many trailers they're releasing. They may be giving a bit too much of the game away and killing some of the hype, but it does look great.
Yeah, it really does. Star Wars for me, I think people are starting to get hyped for it. But I think everyone's a bit apprehensive because we've had so many bad Star Wars games up until recently with the Jedi Survivor, and I still forget what the first one's called.
Now you put me on the spot.
It literally gets away from me every
Fallen
time.
Order.
Fallen Order. Because I always sit there and think it's Jedi something, and it's not.
It is.
Oh, it's Star Wars Jedi
Star Wars Jedi
Fallen Order. Yeah. But like because it's Jedi Survivor, I think it's Jedi one word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact as well, it's with a new studio, it's with Ubisoft. You know that we've said it before on this podcast. Ubisoft's got to knock it out of the park with this game because they want to keep making these games. They want this franchise.
Star Wars games are always going to get players, but you're right that there have been so many Star Wars games now that have fallen flat on their face that I think people are just apprehensive.
Yeah.
Battlefront 1 was a great example where the trailers looked absolutely incredible and people got so hyped for it, and then it came out and it just wasn't what people were expecting.
There was no content, microtransactions everywhere.
Yeah. And Battlefront 2 rectified some of that, but certainly not all of it.
No. Now, obviously, leading into our next sort of thing that I wanted to talk about is GTA. But I think there's the coinciding with the tweet they put out announcing that there will be a trailer coming at the beginning of December. I think the timing of that and the Video Game Awards, that is where we're going to see it. I think Jeff Keighley's been in there and sorted something out for the Video Game Awards. Seems like the place that everybody wants to be to do the announcements this time of year. Unless, of course, you're doing your own thing like Sony do. But even Sony throw Jeff some stuff. So, do you think we're going to, outside, we'll come back to the GTA thing. Outside of that, do you think there's going to, what else do you think there's going to be, like, announcement-wise, at the Video Game Awards? Is there anything that you can think of?
Not in particular. I suppose there are a few developers where it's a bit up in the air what they're working on next. But there's nothing that jumps out to me where I go, that's what they're going to be bringing up. Do you have anything?
Well, my big thing was always GTA. I've been saying it all year. I don't know if Nintendo would announce a Switch 2 at the Video Game Awards. I think they're probably likely to leave that to their own
imagine so.
thing. Maybe we get some Hades 2 information. I mean,
it's possible.
It's sort of been said that it's in development, but it's not really had any announcement or anything like that. So, what better place for a smaller studio to announce something than, the biggest event in the game calendar?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm just thinking about something that you talked about on stream regarding GTA and how it's quite common for Rockstar to leave their announcements, especially for GTA games, quite late. And it certainly seems in this case, with this next GTA game, that they have been holding off for as long as possible. They even said that on Twitter, that they wanted to wait to show people until the game was, much closer to being ready before they said anything about it. Do you think there's a possibility that they actually release an initial trailer slightly before the Game Awards and then surprise people with a gameplay trailer at the Video Game Awards?
I don't know, because it's much like what we were saying on stream the other day with everyone saying, well, why would they do the announcement? Why wouldn't they just drop the trailer?
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, the way they've done it, they get the double hit. Especially, like, as far as the share market goes. They've dropped this tweet. All anybody talked about for 2 days was GTA trailer's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And now everyone's back waiting. And then all of a sudden we're going to drop this trailer. I don't know if they drop 2 trailers within such a short period, whether it will have the same effect or whether it might actually damage what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Um,
I don't think dropping a teaser trailer and then, 3-4 days later dropping a gameplay trailer with, let's say, a release date, if there is one, which I believe there will be. I can't see them doing it. It doesn't make sense to me why they would. I think if they're going to do it, they're going to drop a trailer with a release date, and then sometime between now and the release date, which I think will be, back end of next year, September onwards, sometime between now and then, probably around Summer Games Fest, June time, we'll get a gameplay trailer and a a bit of a deep dive at Summer Games Fest or something like that.
I'm actually not of the same opinion as you that they will give a release date. I think they'll give a release window.
Maybe.
I think they'll give Q4 or fall.
Yeah, look,
2024.
I think that would be a wise decision. I just don't think it's Rockstar style. I think they like to leave things. They like to leave everybody in the dark. They like to squish it in and go, right, here's a trailer, here's a release date, and then there's radio silence again. And then it's bang, here's something else, bang, here's release date, bang, release date's here. It builds up the hype.
I'd be really interested to learn about the inner workings of Rockstar and what comes top down from Take-Two and so on, because the GTA games, or the main titles in the GTA series, are all made by Rockstar North, who are based in Scotland, and yet they've got this kind of big American parent company that oversees so many different game franchises. And I really wonder what those interactions are like, how much pressure is put on them, and how well they resist that, because obviously they've resisted releasing or even announcing a new GTA game for so long now.
Do you know the thing that comes into my head? The way I imagine that relationship. Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon, when he cut that promo, print me money.
Yep.
Doesn't care what that does, print me money. That's how I see that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care what Rockstar do.
Be spot on.
But in the case of, the GTA trilogy, that seemed like it was more of a Take-Two decision.
Yes.
And they've, Rockstar have gone, well, it's not really what we want to do. We're working on this. We don't really have time to do it. Let's... Here you go. You take this. Take it over there. Do what you want with it, sort of thing.
And they only roped in Rockstar North and Rockstar San Diego after the game was released and needed fixing.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
Before that, it was just using existing assets
Yeah.
from those studios.
Yeah. So we'll find out more in a couple of weeks anyway when it comes to GTA. We will obviously keep talking about it as we know more. One thing I noticed this week, the PlayStation Portal. We obviously down here in Australia was announced not that long ago. The price point, when we could put them on pre-order, all that sort of stuff. I didn't pay too much attention to it outside of the price, which is what I thought it was. It would be $350, which I think's pretty reasonable. I think anything more than that was pushing it. But I started seeing everyone in America get theirs. I'm obviously part of game groups from around the world, trophy hunters groups, all that sort of stuff, and saw them getting theirs. And I thought, oh, yeah, it comes out today. I might get one for Christmas. Nope, no I won't. Because Australia doesn't get theirs till February. Which is an absolute joke. Absolute joke.
It's been a long time since Sony have done that much of a staggered release on something.
Oh, they did the same thing last year, didn't they? With the Pro Controller.
Yeah, but it wasn't quite that staggered.
America got theirs November, December, and we weren't supposed to get it till February. And they didn't actually get them in stores until March.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, maybe I'm wrong on that then.
Because I was going into JB Hi-Fi because I thought, that they'll be a bit better than EB with them. And they all had pre-order for the 14th of Feb or 21st of Feb or something like that. And you'd go in there and they still didn't have them on the shelves, and you talk to them and they're like, yeah, no, we're not getting them for another 2 or 3 weeks.
It seems so just normal now with pretty much a lot of these products and companies that there are just consistent supply chain issues.
Yeah.
And you get to a point where once the product's been out for a month or two, you can get one anytime.
Yeah.
But for the first couple of months, it just seems so hard to get one, and then they have to do staggered releases and go around the world, sure that they can manage the supply chain. I think with some of these products, maybe they just need to wait an extra month, like once the product's ready, just to make sure that they've got enough stock.
It's one of the things that really bugs me about living in Australia. Between the lack of streaming culture, the lack of YouTube culture. Obviously, there are big names within those spaces here in Australia, but I mean, compared to places like the UK, America, like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Our internet is horrendous.
Yeah, very poor. Still very poor.
And our game supply, like we still don't have the Stream Deck. They just released a new one.
Mm-hmm.
They just released the OLED edition. We still can't get the original unless we go through third party.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely crazy. Just blows my mind.
I don't quite understand what it is with all of the manufacturers of these products, because it's not like Australia is a tiny market.
Well, it is compared to, we've only got a...
Sure. But there'll be, plenty of countries in Europe that are tiny. That are smaller markets, but because they're in Europe, it's easier for them to work the supply chain.
With this massive island in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, with a small capacity of actual people in the country compared to
Now, I
SOS.
watched a couple of reviews of the PlayStation Portal, um, and it seems generally like it's a good product for the price. It is a good screen, although it's not an OLED screen. It's a screen that's capable of pretty high contrast,
Yeah.
really nice colors. It's bright enough, it seems. And the fact that they've integrated proper like DualSense feedback and rumble and stuff into it that works over remote play is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah. Which is the argument I was making with people online. Like, you don't get that playing on your phone.
You don't, but a couple of the reviews that I watched did point out that they compared it to doing remote play on a tablet. And doing it on a tablet, if you've got a good enough tablet, you've got a bigger screen, possibly a better screen, and better battery life, potentially, playing remote play that way. And apparently the remote play performance is no better on the PlayStation Portal than it is.
No, and it wouldn't be because
than it is on a tablet.
It's running
so
the same.
If you so you can still, unless you have a really really good internet connection, you can still get kind of stuttering and all of those sorts of things that you get on remote play normally.
Okay, yep, I understand all that, but again, like, my point is, hang on a sec. Where am I putting this when I lay in bed?
Yeah, sure.
Where am I putting this when I sit in a car?
Yeah, you need some sort of stand situation or whatever. Like, if you're going to use it in bed, and sometimes it's just not practical.
But then
there are definitely use cases for the PlayStation Portal for sure.
But like, if I'm using it in bed, I still have to be sitting up a certain way to be able to use that tablet. I use the PlayStation Portal. I could be laying on my side playing.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but if I wanted to, I could. I can't do that with the tablet. I can't do that with the tablet and a controller. Because I'm either going to have the tablet here and I'm going to be looking at it sideways, or the tablet's going to be like this. And then, finding stand options for that is not great.
Sure.
You move and the thing's going to on your face.
But your point of in the car, you can't use it in the car anyway.
Well, you can, because you can wirelessly hook it up to your phone.
Yes, I suppose so. But your remote play performance is going to be atrocious. At least in Australia. I've tried remote play over mobile network, and it's awful.
Yeah, but it'd be the same thing if you were, on tablet in that situation.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. We're probably running a little bit over, but
yeah,
I should probably talk about clubs quickly. And our streaming recently. Obviously, we did get to elite. We didn't quite do as well in the playoffs as we wanted to. We were sitting in the top 25%. By the end of the week, we dropped out and finished in the top 50, which meant we didn't even get a trophy. Yeah. We're already back up to Div 2. It's been a week since it's been... Or 2 weeks since it's been finished?
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. 2 weeks. 2 weeks since it's been finished. But I think it's only 1 week of us playing, hasn't it? Or
Yeah.
Yes.
It's probably a week and a half, I suppose, since it finished on a Friday.
Yeah. So we're already back up to Div 2. We're up there with, the top 13, 14% of clubs. I am finding it a little bit difficult with the amount of new numbers we have in the team and the style of play that we keep chopping and changing, and And nothing against the players that we have at all. I I love having more people play with us and being on stream and stuff like that. I think it's great. But between you and me, like we've got so used to playing just you and me for so long, and then we spent a year with Blowy with us, and now all of a sudden there's 6 of us, 7 of us, 7 of us.
Yeah, 7 of us.
And and we rate all different skill levels.
Yeah, and I think we're running into this issue now where we've got so many players in the team that we almost don't know what our individual roles should be, and that's
Except me.
That's a big change because for us, especially, we've spent so long having to pull the vast majority of the weight for the team. It's like the defense does its job, or in the past very rarely did its job, but attempts to do its job. They pass the ball to us and then we do all the work. And it's not like that at all.
Anybody that's watched the streams and listened to the boys, they have a go at me for being greedy. And don't get me wrong, I am greedy. I do like scoring goals. I've always liked scoring goals. That's why I play up front in real life as well as online. But there's a little bit of method to my madness in it. I never know when, I don't know if me being greedy in the 3rd minute and taking a shot on from long range might be my only opportunity of the game. Because we don't know, with the mix of players we have, if we're going to get the ball back in that position. Sure. It was a little bit different a couple of weeks ago when, Tungy was out wide, Blowy would go out right, or you'd go out right, or you'd slip through the middle. But now we've got new players out wide. Still got to try and fit Princess in when he comes back in somewhere. We've got Tungy playing at centre-back, which that's a whole different issue.
Yeah.
At times. He's 50-50 in that position. Sorry to say it, Tungy. I think that's a conversation we're going to have outside of the podcast. Does absolutely unreal sometimes, much like Blowy in the defensive midfield spot. And other times you go, oh, jeez, where's he gone? Gone walkabout. But, I think the only position that we really have cemented would be me up top. And that's not being... we played with games with me on the wing. I was still scoring from out there, so it's not like it's, an issue of, nobody else can do it. Other people can play up there and we can still win games. But you want your best pieces in the best places, and I think for us, that's you and me in that 1-2 spot up top. You see so much and create so much, even with little passes out wide and little runs here and there. And I have this really random, uncanny ability to score the most ridiculous goals at times.
Yeah.
That, most people will be trying to take it on the chest, and I'm doing a bicycle kick from the top of the fucking box and putting it in the top corner. And then the simple ones I miss.
I think from my own point of view, I'm finding it quite difficult to adjust to things not going through me most of the time. That's traditionally how it's always been, and even when we had wide players, the ball would come through me. I'd play it out to them or play a 1-2 with them. or slip it through to you if the opportunity was there. And now suddenly I feel like I'm going sometimes very long periods of games where I'm not being involved because, it's straight from our defense, straight out wide, across gets whipped in, and it's just totally just,
bypassed you.
bypassed me just again and again and
I-
again. So
I-
I personally need to figure that out.
I found that a lot. Two separate times. Once when I had the 6'7" build, I was finding like I wasn't getting the ball at my feet at all. Really,
Yeah.
the only time I was getting the ball was when you guys were whipping it into the top, or I was getting the random one that I'd win a slide tackle and then I'd have the ball, or I was dropping deep and getting it off a computer player. It's the only time I touched the ball. Last night was the other time. The amount of times that between Blowy and Jack were just switching the ball, and most of the time it was unneeded.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
That's a conversation we need to have with them. And
And it's also the perennial club's problem of players calling for the ball too much, which happens all over the team. It's not singling anyone out.
No. Like I do it way too much. I do it less than I used to, but we were both that way because we thought better at our feet than the computer's feet.
I think realistically, we've got so many human players now that you'll almost never need to call for the ball because at least 50% of the time it's going to be a human player passing it. And when it's not, you're probably not in a position to receive it and do something good with it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to leave it there before we go too much longer. It's already going to take me an age to get this edited and uploaded and everything else like that. And yeah, go from there. So anyway, hopefully you enjoy more of us just having a chat and not really structuring things out too well. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Don't forget, check out our streams over at twitch.tv/BrennanHoof. Hang on, that way. Twitch.tv/ you've just changed it to Pomster now, haven't you? Yep, so it's just
that's right.
/Pomster. Down the bottom here, down here somewhere, you can see we've got our Discord switched on. Find us a Switched On Squad over on Instagram and at our YouTube channel at Switched On Squad, which is where you'll find this podcast and all previous other episodes, along with some of our gaming stuff as well. Alright guys, we will see you later. Adios.